Adam, this season's done. We've started packing our bags, but let's go on an oldie but a goodie topic for a minute here. If Kevin Love had decided to not ask for a buyout, would the Cavs have won this series?
I think, what is the term? I think I buried the lead already. I think if you've listened to the other parts of the episode. I think that we would have had a better chance, but I think it goes back to the conversation we just had at question 1, which is, what were the coaches planning for? What were their expectations for going into the playoffs? And I think I'll never forget how the week before Altman is going in front of the national media going, no, everybody's happy. We're happy. Love's happy. No one's going anywhere. We're great. And then Love, a week later is like, I want to trade. What? Mm-hmm. He blindsided the organization. He blindsided the coaching staff. And then he went and had a conversation with Fedor after he went down to Miami. He was like, oh, yeah, I never talked to anybody about it. I didn't really know what their plans were for me. I just kind of emotionally reacted. Okay, thanks, Kev. I'm glad you're still in the playoffs with Miami, playing with your guys. Wait, no. No, your guys are home now for the rest of the season. I hope it hurt you to watch us play the way we did against the Knicks. I mean, I like Kevin for the things he contributed to the team when he could, when he was out there playing. And I know that if he could have been out there more, he would have, right? I don't think it's ever been about effort for the guy. But he left a bad taste in my mouth by leaving the way that he did, and by nobody kind of realizing how much he screwed over the team. And acting like the team somehow did it to him first. He had a bad back and a bad thumb. And yet, you get down to Miami and those things don't hurt so much. What's going on with you? So, okay, maybe we wouldn't have won anything with him still on the team, but just knowing that the coaching staff had to have been planning for him in that way, and knowing that this coaching staff doesn't really pivot to new ideas very quickly, when Danny Green couldn't get any meaningful time with the roster before the playoffs began, they didn't have any way to scheme anything for him. So we were all of a sudden without a veteran playoff experienced person that could come in off the bench and some nights maybe even score 20-25 for you because of the threes that he rains down. Yeah, we missed that, I think. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if we would have... Heck, we might have been swept with him because defensively he was so deficient that the things that the coaching staff was asking Allen and Mobley to do, Kevin Love wasn't going to do. And I think the Knicks the Knicks were so in charge of this series on so many levels that it is difficult to say. I do agree with you that his shooting probably would have helped because I doubt that for 5 games, Love's percentage would have been very poor. But I also looked back at his usage in the play-in last year, and in one game he's got over 20 minutes, and the other game I think it was under 10. And so again, it goes back to, for me, JB is just not... something's up. He's blinking in this scenario when it comes to postseason play, and he might have played Love for 6 minutes.
He would have gotten Rubio's minutes.
Right. And speaking of Rubio, the coaching staff I think is competent on some levels, but something is odd about them because I was listening to Fedor's podcast and he mentioned that in spite of the fact that Rubio was playing in the playoffs, there were coaches on the staff saying to Rubio, encouraging him to play this summer in the Spanish league, for the Spanish team. And I just found that really strange. So Rubio's getting weird messages because, you think that my legs aren't under me, but you're still giving me minutes. And I could see where Love, I'm not giving him a pass on how he reacted, but I could see where Love was like, wait, you're giving me minutes, but then all of a sudden you're shutting me down. So there's definitely some weird, odd communication style.
Yeah, he didn't talk to them and they didn't talk to him. So, yeah, there's
Exactly.
definitely some odd communication going on there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Love would have helped a little bit, but I think we still would have lost in 5.
The other X factor for me is something that Garland mentioned at the top of the year, which is that Kevin Love was one of the best cheerleaders and kind of player coaches on the sideline for him over the years that he'd been there. And even when Kevin left, that was my first thought. Like, oh, great. Garland just lost his mentor that he relies to point things out on the court and go, hey, don't let him do this or come around this screen or do this stuff, right? And so now that's gone. That's gone. That wasn't there for the entire playoffs. And yeah, I'm sure there's other guys that can do it too. But Garland mentioned the value of that. And so I have to feel that it was actually missing for him when he needed it. And that's where I think it's hard for us to understand the value of a person being there or not. Because we can say minutes or stats, but it's also about what they're doing in the locker room, what they're doing on the bench, what they're doing in practices. And he left the team, left them to themselves. And it seemed like they needed a big brother. They needed some guidance through this series. And I think you're right. I think they probably still would have lost it because everything we've covered before, they were totally unprepared, really, in the end, to mature enough in the ways that they needed to compete in this series. But I think it could have gone 6 or 7, maybe. You know, it's hard to imagine that it would have played out this way if they could have just done a few things just a little differently. I mean, even in an alternate reality, you know, they at least won game 4 or game 3 or something. You know, like this series was maddening because both teams shot very poorly, and there were only a few statistics that the Knicks beat us out in, and yet we were crushed on the points side. You know, so it looked like they dominated us across the board, but when you looked at the stats, it's like, well, this was in hand. We could have won these games if we had played the way that we are capable of.
Thank you for listening to the Cavaliers Basketball Club podcast. Let's go Cavs!